Welcome to the 2024 Black Space Week. This year marks the third annual celebration representing all segments of the space and scientific community who have made significant contributions. I'm your host, Gary Willis, Program Manager with NASA. Today, I'm in the broadcast studio at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. I am thrilled to have Joshua Dobbs, NFL quarterback, aerospace engineer, pilot in training, and America's own Passtronaut. Today, Josh is here to share his incredible experience in aeronautics and aerospace, his own inspiring story, and some awesome advice about STEM. Hello, Josh, and welcome to Black Space Week.
What's up, my man, Gary? Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on and share this broadcast with you and be able to share my story and the awesome experiences I've had thus far in the aerospace and aeronautical community.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. Listen, we're looking forward to having a great conversation with you today. We got a couple of things for you. First of all, we're actually going to have some questions, get to know Josh a little bit better. Then we're also going to have some lightning round questions and even do a little trivia for you. So,
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Take it easy on me on the lightning round questions. You know, us engineers, we like to think things out. Try to be quick on my toes today, you know?
Oh, no schematics, man. No schematics. You're going to have to, that's right. You're going to have to flow with it today. All right, let's start with our questions. First one, who is Joshua Dobbs?
Who is Joshua Dobbs? That's a great question, man. Well, currently, I'm an NFL quarterback, just going into my 8th season with the San Francisco 49ers and excited about the upcoming season. I'm an aerospace engineer. I'm a pilot in training, philanthropist, traveler. There's a lot. I would say there's a lot of adjectives to describe myself, man. But at the end of the day, I'm myself. I have a very unique story. From where I come from, how I was raised, my interests, my passions, both on the field, playing football specifically now, but growing up playing every sport I could, and also in the classroom, and my love of aviation and aerospace. And I really do. People say this jokingly, like, "Hey, the Passtronaut," right? In passing, but I think that's really cool because that's who I am. Those are my interests, really summed up into one word. I love what I do, man. I love my story. I love where I come from, and it's always cool to be able to share and provide a little light into who I am and why I do what I do as well.
That's wonderful. So you touched on a couple of things that we kind of want to pull on a little bit. First of all, like I mentioned, the Passtronaut, you just said, hey, the Passtronaut, that's me. So how did the Passtronaut come to be? Tell me how that started.
And so, growing up, I always loved aviation, loved aerospace, and that's really where my passion lied. Like, I was really good at math and science; those became my favorite subjects early. I really was an aviation nerd and geek. Like, I was the kid that loved to just show up at the airport, study planes. That's a 737. That's a 767. Oh, what's the difference between a Boeing and Airbus? Learn the history about aviation. And so that's kind of the combination of my love of aviation, really where it started, and really being good at really good at math and science. On the flip side, I started playing football when I was 5 years old, as well as baseball and basketball. And so as I progressed and got to kind of the point where you have to decide, hey, what you want to do with your life, as every kid does when they have to go to college, I wanted to do things that I loved and that I knew, like, one, what sport that I couldn't live without. And then even if I couldn't play sports, I wanted to study really what I had a passion for and what I was good at. So I was looking, I was like, hey, I want to play the highest level of collegiate sports, collegiate football that I could. Was blessed with a ton of opportunities across the country. And I also wanted to be an aerospace engineer and study aerospace engineering because I knew that's what I wanted my background. That's what I wanted my studies to be in for a career after football, whether that started the day I got on campus because I just wasn't able to play, or whether it was the day I graduated school because I didn't have an opportunity to go to NFL. And of course, now whenever or still doing my NFL career, what I wanted to do off the field. So that's really where my passion came from, starting when I was younger, just simple trips, going to the airport, loving planes. I was blessed with the opportunity to visit the Kennedy Space Center, which was my first introduction to NASA back when I was 7 years old. And obviously, NASA and the trajectory of the space industry looked completely different then than what it looks like now. And so those little experiences, accompanied with my true passions, both in the classroom and on the football field and in sports and that competitive nature, are really what allowed me to become the Passtronaut and be able to, go into my 8th year in the NFL while also pursuing my interests, both, becoming a pilot in the making as well as in the aerospace world.
Wow, that's incredible. I said two things, and that I was going to pull on, and you touched on it a little bit more. So, walk us through being drafted, if I'm not mistaken, getting a scholarship. Actually,
hmm
correction, getting a scholarship from Alpharetta High School in Georgia for baseball to playing, becoming a starting quarterback for the Vols at the University of Tennessee to getting your aerospace engineering degree. Just walk us through that thread and how all that
Yeah.
connects.
So, starting at Alpharetta High School, that's where the majority of my college recruitment came from. And so in high school, I played football and baseball at an extremely high level. So I was playing the most competitive football I could, as well as doing the travel baseball circuit, going to camps, both for football and baseball for colleges, trying to put myself out there. And it's funny, growing up, my dream school is actually always to go to Stanford. And
Okay.
so as I progressed through high school, um, I had several football offers from a lot of schools across the country. I was committed to Arizona State. I kept my baseball recruiting much lighter than than football recruiting because it's just a whole two different dynamics. And so I
Hmm.
really was very pointed with my baseball recruitment. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to a Stanford baseball camp and see if I can get an offer to go to the University of Stanford to play baseball, and I'll make my decision from there." As well as I wanted an offer to really play both football and baseball at Stanford. So as I progressed throughout high school, I got to the point where signing day, where you have to make a decision. And football signing day comes before baseball signing day. And at this moment, I was actually committed to the University of Arizona State to play football. I was considering going to Tennessee to play football, and I did have an offer to go to Stanford to play baseball. And so my decision came down to I have the opportunity to go to my dream school and play baseball, but I have an opportunity to do the sport I would prefer to play at the college level, even though it wouldn't be at my dream school. And so after doing all my college visits, assessing each opportunity, I ultimately decided to go to University of Tennessee to play football. Because I said, even though I was going to Stanford, it was my dream school and an awesome opportunity, wonderful academics, and a chance to study aerospace engineering. If I had to wake up every single Saturday and watch, another quarterback go out and play football, and I was in the stands getting ready for baseball practice, I would be more upset if it was the other way around. So ultimately, I knew in my heart that football was what my passion was, and to play at the highest level was to go and play SEC football at the University of Tennessee. And also, University of Tennessee still has a wonderful, tremendous engineering program and a tremendous brand to be able to connect and do the opportunities I wanted to do after school. And so on signing day, I switched my commitment to the University of Tennessee to play football. And really, the rest was history. It was honestly the best decision of my life. Had the opportunity to play quarterback early, start as a freshman, as well as have the support system of a university that wanted me to achieve my goals and dreams in the classroom first and then on the football field, which I couldn't ask for anything else. So I ended up deciding to go to the University of Tennessee,
Hmm.
playing football there, starting as a true freshman, four year starter. And it all culminated obviously to the draft, to getting drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2017. And so I think it was funny as I was going through that progression. I think what people don't understand is like, yes, aerospace engineering, as we all know now, is is one of my top two passions. But playing football at the highest level has always been a goal of mine. I started playing football when I was 5 years old, and to go through the gauntlet of every August going to camp and the gauntlet of each season, striving to be the best 5-year-old, 7-year-old, middle school
Mhm.
quarterback you could be, high school quarterback you can be, then going through the competitive college recruitment process just to get an opportunity to play at a D1 school. Like, you
Mhm.
put a lot of work into that. And for me, I put the same amount of effort on the field as I put into my books in the classroom. And so when the draft came, it was very funny and interesting to look at, the different media conversations about myself and my backgrounds, because a lot of them were, hey, well, he has this degree in aerospace engineering. Maybe he just doesn't want to do this football thing. And for me, like, knowing the amount of effort it just took just to get to that day and have the opportunity to get drafted, man, I was like, hey, I can play football at the highest level. The NFL has always been a dream of mine. I'll be remiss not to take advantage and make the most of this opportunity. And so to get drafted, man, and into the NFL and be one of 96 professional quarterbacks in the world, as well as to still have the opportunity to
Mhm.
pursue what I pursue off the field in the aerospace community, partnerships, obviously, with NASA and the externships I've been able to have throughout my off seasons. I know we'll touch on those in a little bit, as well as now pursuing my pilot's license. It's really a dream come true to be able to do both, and it's a testament not only to obviously what I put into it, but the support groups that I've had, starting with my parents who inspired me to be the person I am, both on and off the field, as well as all my coaches, teachers, and mentors I've had along the way that have poured into me up until this point.
That's incredible. So for anyone who may be pursuing a similar path, Josh, as I listen to you, I don't think people also understand that you maintain that professional posture, seeking to become a NFL quarterback while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I wouldn't say it was the easiest thing to do. Um, but that is correct. That is correct.
So, touch on just what it took to do both, because both require a very unique discipline.
Without a doubt.
And so describe, if you could just touch on the synergy between those two, and how you've applied that, your experience in obtaining your aerospace engineering degree and, in the NFL, and then how your NFL experience has transitioned to your aerospace STEM activities.
I think you said it right at the beginning of the question. You said it requires a tremendous amount of discipline. And that's what really it comes down to. Going through college was really when I learned how big of a bite I decided to chew was.
Mhm.
Because the college schedule isn't for the faint of heart if you just choose to be an athlete. And then if when you're pursuing engineering, and I know we'll have a lot of engineers and future engineers listening, we all know what the gauntlet is like in engineering on any campus across the country. And so my days were definitely full. Like a quick rundown of my day. I'm a little not slight, but I'm a little on the lighter side. At least I was when I got to college. Now I just got to hit the Peloton to keep the lbs down. But when I was in school, man, I came in. I had to gain a ton of weight to have the body type to be able to
Mhm.
withstand what it takes to be a Division I quarterback. So I was at Breakfast Club every morning, starting at 7 a.m. I would then have 8 a.m. class to about 2, and classes ranged from your general studies as a freshman, which I came in with a ton of credits actually. So I think my first math class on campus was like differential equations, which people were looking at me crazy when I showed up on campus taking that class.
Mhm.
But I have class from about 8 to 2, and then I will walk across campus, grab some lunch, get in the car, get to practice. Meetings would start around 2:30. They would go for about 2 hours, 2:30 to 4:30. After meetings, we're on the practice field for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So you're wrapping around 6:30. You have your post-practice lift, recovery, dinner. So you leave the facility around 8:30. And now it's time. Obviously, now I got to go to the library or to study hall to do homework, get ready for class the next day, and wake up, go to sleep whenever I was finished, usually closing down the library, and then wake up and repeat process the next day. And so that was my normal day in college. Like whether it was out of
Mm.
season, in season, that's what I was going to. And obviously the classes only got harder, and the pressure
Mhm.
on the field to perform and compete at the highest level only got larger as well. So What I learned is it takes a high level of discipline and a high level of focus. And what I also learned is it also takes, and it sounds like the most simplest thing, man. It also takes like the enjoyment of the process. I remember feeling overwhelmed, as many people do on any college campus, my sophomore year. And I looked at my class schedule, and what I had left was the gauntlet: I had thermodynamics, propulsion, astronautics, airplane performance, compressible flow, and I had about 80 more hours so I graduated. And at that moment, I kind of had like two options I could take. I could keep just looking toward the finish line, just counting down the hours until it's done. I could just move on with my life. Or I could just take a step back and really embrace the opportunity, embrace the journey, embrace whatever I was going through, but really just take a chance to enjoy the journey, right?
Hmm.
And what I learned is to enjoy those late nights in the library, enjoy those long days, and it sounds crazy. Enjoy waking up early and going to breakfast club. Enjoy the tough games, because when you do that, you also enjoy, acing the tests, doing well in the projects, competing well, winning the big game. And you just learn to live in the moment and maximize each moment that's placed in front of you. And when you do that and you look up at the end of it all, then you know that you're prepared to really accomplish anything that the world throws at you. So that's what I learned during my time in 4 years at the University of Tennessee. And quite frankly, learning that and going through that tremendous opportunity to study aerospace engineering and play a D1 quarterback has allowed me to be propelled into the real world and excelling in the NFL, as well as in my opportunities and interests as well off the field.
That's incredible. So, what I'm hearing is discipline, resiliency, and some self belief. I mean,
Without a
those
doubt.
things that definitely encapsulates. That's just incredible. All right, listen, you got an opportunity. Let's start some lightning round questions for you. Now,
Okay.
a couple of ground rules. All right. Hey, just question, and we're just looking for a quick 30-second answer.
30
Whatever
seconds.
pops in your head, yeah, boom, whatever comes in your head, first thought, let's get it out there. All right.
Love it. Let's do it.
All right. Question number one. And this is going to take you back on the Wayback Machine, so to speak. So, 10-year-old Josh Dobbs playing baseball. So, were you playing baseball at 10?
I was playing baseball at 10. Yep.
Okay. So, here's the first decision point: baseball helmet, football
Okay.
helmet, astronaut helmet, or pilot wings. Which one?
10-year-old Joshua said, crazy baseball helmet and pilot wings.
Okay. Okay.
That's what
Why?
baseball, I started playing baseball a year before football. 10-year-old Josh was on top of the baseball world. Now we were on the diamond. We were nice. I think I was leading the league in home runs, playing shortstop, playing every week, loving it. And literally I would just go home and like watch anything, any movie that had an airplane in it, I will watch it. So those are kind of my two favorite things. Like I loved football still. I was playing football, baseball, and basketball at the time, but at that time, baseball, man, I was dominating. I was dominating some youth league baseball back when I was 10, and I just loved everything about aviation at that point.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Next question in the lightning round. Name one thing that people don't know about you.
Whew, we live in a social media world. I feel like everyone knows everything about you. But I say people probably don't know I love music. Like I grew up playing the saxophone in the band. I was in the chorus, actually, even though my voice is terrible. When I was in the fourth grade, I was awful. And then I play the piano now. So I play the piano on the side. That's kind of how I keep my love and fascination for music going.
So, how many NASA centers have you visited, and which one is your favorite?
I visited three NASA centers, all for different reasons. And now you're gonna put me on the spot saying my favorite. It's crazy. I have so much love for the people in Cleveland, at NASA Glenn. Actually, four NASA centers: Armstrong, Glenn, the Rocket Center, and Kennedy Space Center. I'd say of them, and this is only because the experience I've had. I might have to give it to the Rocket Center. There's gonna be a longer answer, but you got to listen to the story if you'll allow me, Gary.
Go for it.
So, growing up, as I said, I played competitive baseball all summer. From the from March to August, I was on a baseball diamond every day. So most kids that love space and aviation, they get a chance to go to space camp. I never got a chance to go to space camp because I was playing baseball. So I got approached with the opportunity a couple off seasons ago to go to space camp as an adult. So to go to adult space camp, and that was probably the coolest thing I've done, but the funniest thing I've done. Because for those of you who've gone to space camp, like it's made for kids, right? Like the modules, the suits, the harnesses, they're all made for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, right? As an adult, I got to go as someone who's 6'3.5", 215 pounds, and can't fit in any of the material, any of the experience that you get at space camp, and absolutely had a ball. Like the team building, the just like being immersed in like what it's like to be an astronaut or going through astronaut training, and also like to try to crawl around the mock-up space shuttle in an astronaut suit that didn't fit me, in a harness I felt like I was about to fall off of because it wasn't built for someone 220 pounds. It was an absolute joy. And then just to see the history and know everything that came through the Rocket Center, man, I loved it. So that's why it's my favorite. But every NASA Center, man, has its own feeling, its own vibe that make it special, make it who it is. And I always love being able to visit the different centers across the country and learn the history and learn just how they fit into the entire puzzle that NASA is.
Final lightning first round question for you. Coolest NASA event you ever participated in or attended?
The coolest NASA event I probably ever attended has to be the eclipse. I was in Cleveland this off season. Man, it was a joy to take it in with all the people that have traveled across the world to Cleveland because it was the best place to view it, especially to see the youth that was involved in the event.
Mhm.
It was a beautiful event on the lake, and to see it go dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon was a tremendous sight to see.
Nicely done, Josh. All right, let's switch back to some more questions to learn more about you. Josh, you've played college football in Tennessee, and your NFL career, as you mentioned, includes time in Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Cleveland, Detroit, Tennessee, Arizona, Minnesota, and San Francisco.
So
Amongst
far.
all that so far, what's incredible and what I've learned about you is this is that during all that time, one thing that I've read about you consistently is that you've had a tremendous commitment to STEM engagement, no matter what city you were in, whether it was locally or nationally. So let's talk about what got you interested in aeronautics and aerospace. What was that first piece that got you interested?
So the first thing that got me interested in aeronautics and aerospace, honestly, was family vacations when I was younger. Growing up in Atlanta, as we all know, Hartsfield Jackson Airport is the busiest airport in the world and the biggest Delta hub in the world. And I used to love just going to the airport and flying anywhere just for the
Mhm.
experience of flying and learning what planes I was on, Delta's footprint within the industry, as well as like just like what makes a massive structure be able to defy the laws of gravity. So that piqued my interest. And then what piqued my interest in the aerospace community was a trip to Kennedy Space Center when I was 7 years old. When I was 7, that was peak shuttle age where NASA was launching, I believe, around 4 shuttles a year up to the International Space Station. And to go visit the Kennedy Space Center and participate in all the activities that they had around the shuttle age was amazing. They had, for instance, lunch with an astronaut. They had a tremendous visitor center with different simulators and opportunities to learn, as well as tours to understand the history of NASA and to see the progression of the space age from where it had started back in the 60s and late 50s to where it was currently in the early 2000s. And so, as a 7-year old, getting a chance to one get on a plane and go to Kennedy Space Center, as well as visit the center and see all the history. That's where my original interest in the aerospace and aeronautical community began, and from there it just continued to grow each year. As I said, I had two amazing parents whose biggest goal was to put me in environments of things that I love to do and things I didn't love to do, to figure out that I didn't love to do them, honestly. And so once they learned that I loved STEM, loved aviation, loved aerospace, they would sign me up for anything they possibly could for me to scratch that itch. From camps with the Tuskegee Airmen back in middle school, where I had the opportunity to meet some of the people that made history back in World War II, as well as visit with a lot of the commercial companies that are doing aerospace and aeronautical work in the Atlanta area, to science camps, summer
Hmm.
activities, advanced learning within physics. And so all that ultimately combined into my love and passion now for STEM, aerospace, and aviation.
Josh, great answer. And thank you for sharing your interest in aeronautics and aerospace. Now, let's talk about why you have such a present day interest in STEM engagement. With all you have going on in your life with the NFL and several other activities, trying to get your pilot's license, why is STEM engagement so important to you today?
Man, I'm blessed with the platform that I have and the opportunities I've been able to live out thus far. And so, with that platform, my biggest goal in everything I do is to pour into that next generation. And with my passion being in STEM and aeronautics and aerospace, I know where that passion stemmed from the experiences that I had when I was a kid. And so, being able to one provide some of those same opportunities to the youth and next generation, as well as to speak on my journey, my passions, my experiences within the industry. I know that it allows for more interest in the next generations to want to be a part of the growth that is occurring right now in the aerospace community. And it's no secret what NASA is doing in the industry, as well as how NASA has employed a lot of commercial companies to burst onto the scene in order to continue to push the envelope of what we humans can do with the materials we have here on Earth in order to explore our solar system. And so, empowering the next generation only allows for that growth to continue, for those opportunities to be created. And we were able to create those passions at a young age. You're able to really propel yourself through the adversity and the difficult times that you'll have really in any industry in order to make the ultimate impact on us here on Earth.
Wow. Yeah, that's so important. Carrying things on for the future is exactly the impetus of what we really need to do. Always trying to move it forward. Also, in taking a look at your background, I believe you did an externship at a NASA center, correct?
I did. I've done actually two externships. First, being down at Kennedy Space Center, where I was working on the Artemis One mobile launcher, back in 2020. And so that consisted of one, learning everything that goes on at Kennedy Space Center, because I mean there's so much that goes on from a NASA side as well as a commercial side, down on Kennedy Space Center. So I was really getting a full perspective of the goals and missions of NASA currently, as well as being able to hands-on work on the mobile launcher and meet the various engineers were doing work to put that rocket in space. And then the next year, I worked hand in hand with the Razer group that, well, I guess, had been developing a lunar rover, to go and mine regolith to bring back down to Earth. Regolith being moon dirt, to bring back down to Earth in order for us to study here. And I guess my project I was tasked with was actually studying all the commercial rockets and their capabilities, as well as the lunar landers that the commercial rockets will be taking up to the moon, very soon, and seeing which rocket and which lunar lander is most feasible, for that Razer rover. So I had a tremendous research project and a lot of calls to a lot of various commercial companies, and it was a great opportunity to present them with which rocket and lander would be best for them to accomplish their goals when they go to the moon and allow them safe passage back to Earth, for us to do a ton of studying of what's actually up there on the moon.
Wow. So You worked on Artemis and you worked on Razer. Now, I did not know you worked on Razer, which
Yes.
I just learned something new. Let me ask this question. In either of those externships that you did, what were the biggest challenges you faced while doing the externships? You know, how did you work through them and how has that helped you today?
So I would say honestly, the biggest challenges I saw was in my second experience with the Razer Group. At that time, it was 2021, so it was peak COVID. It was difficult to one like do any outside experience for me being in the NFL, as well as to get hands-on work in the engineering world. And so, it's a big shout out to my friends down at Kennedy for presenting me with that opportunity of getting a hands-on opportunity during the midst of a tough time just across the country. But the biggest thing I learned from it, not only obviously just the logistical challenge, but also like communication. I learned how important it is. I'm working with the group, and I'm kind of remote. They're remote. We're all kind of working on similar things, and I'm really just joining on to a project that they've been working on for years. And what I learned is really how to, jump into the middle of a project, communicate how I can be helpful within the situation, be upfront with what I need to learn, be upfront with what I need to know, and also present them with useful information that can help them moving forward. And it's funny when you think about that situation. I was thrown into the exact situation twice this year in the football world, where I was traded from the Cleveland Browns to Arizona Cardinals 7 days before the start of the football season, where I had to meet new teammates, figure out how to communicate myself, what I know, what I don't know, and get on the same page to go out and accomplish those goals. And then do the same thing, turn around while I get traded to Minnesota on Wednesday to then go out and play a game on Sunday. So it's very interesting now when I like look back on the situations that I've had in the engineering world as well as in the football world. And I'm able to see the correlation. I'm able to see the crossover. And I'm also, especially in this case, see how an example and an experience I had in the engineering world, and an example that NASA granted me with, how it provided me preparation for what I was able to do, I guess, in my real job in the NFL world and go out and be successful and accomplish the needed goals.
Great, great. Hey, Josh, you know what time it is?
What time is it? Rapid fire?
No, no, trivia time.
Trivia. Okay, okay. Let me
All
uh
right.
let me let me pull up my computer back here.
All right, ground rules. No cheating, no
No
using the
cheating, no
internet.
cheating.
No.
No internet, no internet. Hands are down,
but
hands are up, hands are up.
but I think this is actually one that you'll remember. All right.
Okay.
So here's the question. Who said you train and practice so much that on the field or in space, you get into the zone where you know exactly what that person is going to do? If a coverage rolls up on you, you know you're going to do a post corner instead of doing a 10-yard out. And in space, in the shuttle, if something fails, one system fails, you know what you're going to do with the next system. Do you know who said that?
It has to be Leland Melvin, my guy.
That's right. Absolutely correct.
Let's
So,
go.
hey, on that trivia piece, I understand you and Leland even had an exchange at one time while you were on your externship. Can you talk about how that influenced you?
Yes, yes, I definitely can. So while I was down at Kennedy Space Center, the first time working on the Artemis mission, it also was in the mix of the first commercial rocket to be launched from U.S. soil, as well as the first rocket with U.S. astronauts to be launched from U.S. Soil since the shuttle age, the SpaceX Crew One mission, as they were launching the first crew up to the International Space Station for their 10-day stint. And so in that, Leland was obviously in attendance, and I got a chance to cross paths with him, and it was um, so cool to just to be able to rub shoulders, share shared experiences. Having love for aviation space, and also being extremely competitive on the football
Mhm.
field, and just see someone that has walked in the shoes I've walked in, has knows what I've gone through from an adversity standpoint, and also knows the feeling of successes in both industries, and to see how they've really become a trailblazer for the next generation. It really put things into perspective for me. And so it was a unique experience, but also for me, man, I was a kid in the candy store being able to one meet him, knowing his story, but also being able to just pick his brain, insight. I will say now though, he did try to sign me up for an astronaut training for my next off season then. And so I was like, Leland, I might have a couple more years. So I actually follow in your footsteps. But it was a tremendous experience to be able to meet him, share some relatable stories, and also learn about him, his journey, and take things from his journey that I can apply to mine as well.
Moving out of the trivia, let's go back to answer. Just talk about a little bit more about your experiences because we're coming up to the end of our time, and pick your brain a little bit on a couple of items. All right.
Okay, let's do it.
So here's a couple more questions for you. Why did you start the Extraordinary Dobbs Foundation?
So I started the Extraordinary Dobbs Foundation, really to provide the next generation of STEM advocates, of engineers, of future pilots, of also high level athletes, the same opportunities I was given growing up to pursue my goals and dreams, both on and off the field. As I've talked about, my interests both in aviation and aerospace, as well as sports, began when I was younger, and, I'm not blind to the fact that I've been blessed along my journey with some tremendous opportunities that may not have, that if I didn't have those opportunities, I might not be where I am today. And I'm also not blind to the fact that some kids out there don't have access to those same opportunities. So my goal with the Extraordinary Dobbs Foundation is to provide those opportunities, whether it's opportunities to visit one of the 20 NASA centers across the country, opportunities to learn more about STEM engagement, meet myself, other engineers, other advocates, astronauts as well that have done tremendous work in the industry. Or on the flip side, opportunities to pursue their goals and dreams so far right now on the football field. But as we go into other realms and means, from baseball to golf, basketball, to those opportunities in athletics, and show them that one, you can set high goals and high dreams for yourself in one of those fields, whether it's in engineering or sports. And two, that the same effort that you put into, your hobbies, things you love to do, the sports and everything, it's the same effort you have to put into your studies and into your dreams in the classroom. And if you want to do both, that you can easily do both. Now your path, your journey might be a little more difficult. You might have to sacrifice a little more. It might take a little bit more discipline. But in the end, if no matter how unique your goals and dreams look, if you're willing to put in the hard work and dedication into your craft, the sky's never the limit for you. So that's our goal. And that's what we are doing to empower the youth and the next generation through the Extraordinary Dobbs Foundation.
And you all have a trip coming up soon, don't you?
We do actually over to Marshall to see you guys. We're bringing the local Girls Inc. of Tennessee Valley over for a trip to the Rocket Center, which I'm extremely excited about. I've spent a lot of time working with Girls Inc. in Knoxville during my time at the University of Tennessee and since I graduated, as well as I know how impactful adult space camp was to me and my interests in the aerospace community. And so through the Extraordinary Dogs Foundation, we're bringing over the Girls Inc. of Tennessee Valley to check out the Marshall NASA Center, the Rocket Center over in Huntsville, and hang out with you guys for a day. So we're really looking forward to it.
So are we. We're definitely looking forward to that visit. All right. Hey, got one more question for you before we move to our last set of lightning round questions. What advice would you give someone interested in literally pursuing a career that may take them to the moon, Mars, and beyond? What would you tell them?
I said, strap in and get ready for the ride because it's going to be exhilarating. But in seriousness, I would tell them that it's going to take a lot of discipline. It's going to take hard work. But what I'll say is, it's extremely gratifying to do what you love, and that's what I've learned. And I've learned that it's gratifying because when you embrace the journey, you embrace the process, you take it one day at a time, and you just enjoy the little moments that accumulate to actually achieving your goals and dreams. That the journey is really what makes the experience. I think we live in a world where people seek instant gratification. They want the final result right now. And from a person who's gone through a journey that's taken a while to get to where I am today, and that is still in the mix of the journey, it's really the journey that you fall in love with. It's the hard work. It's perfecting your craft. It's enjoying, understanding a difficult concept. It's all of those things that accumulate to the opportunity to be able to go to space, become an astronaut, become a pilot, and be really in control of your own destiny. So that's my biggest advice to the youth, the Girls Inc. chapter that I'll be visiting with here soon, and really any aspiring aerospace engineer and professional athlete that I come in contact with. And because I know that if they do those things, they really can achieve whatever they want in this world.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. 40-year-old Josh Dobbs.
All right.
Which one are you going to choose? Pilot wings, NFL clipboard, or astronaut blue suit? Which one and why?
Man, why can't you just choose all three? We're on the trajectory to be able to do all three, just with the knowledge that we have in the football world, the trajectory we're on with our relationships and opportunities in NASA, as well as on the cusp of being a pilot. So all three definitely aren't off the table as possible consideration. So I choose all three.
And with your background, that is the perfect answer. Listen, Josh, thank you so much for your time. This has been wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. More importantly, thank you for everything you're doing to promote STEM and the interest in aeronautics. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Josh and I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation and that in some way we have inspired you to take the next giant leap. Have a great Black Space Week, everyone.